If you have already spoken on this matter, you are advised to log out so that you do not crowd the screen unnecessarily.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, before the CDF, National Government CDF, was introduced, there were several attempts to try and make sure that funds were devolved from the central government to down the bottom at the village level. Such efforts were done by the former President Moi, and they included things like municipal councils and other items like district focus for rural development. The district focus for rural development did not optimize or get much out of this because it did not have a structure of operation. But we want to thank the then government of Mwai Kibaki under the Honorable who finally introduced CDF. And this was the first fund in this country to actually devolve funds down to the village and to the constituency and even to the location level. And since then, this is a fund that went ahead to also prompt Kenyans when they were making the 2010 constitution to realize that it was very important to devolve funds, because for the longest time, this country operated using the sessional paper number 10 of 1965, which was authored by one Tomboya, and which preferred that areas that had some development be strengthened, while those areas that did not have much development would remain behind. It was hoped that the areas which had attained some form of development would later on, using the multiplier effect, pull up the other areas that were down. So since then, Honorable Speaker, the fund has really served, and I will not dare to repeat what everybody has said about the importance of CDF. As we make this law, Honorable Speaker, I would wish to advise that there are certain areas which we have always spoken to in this House and which somewhat are not implemented. For instance, every House, I remember the 12th Parliament when we came in, we talked about the need to remunerate the village elders. I saw the same motion here recently, and it has gone like that. I also saw another area of school feeding program. This area was also talked about during the 12th Parliament when we were beginning, and equally, this time we have seen the motion come and go. What the recent members or the new members of Parliament may not realize is that these are motions which we always speak about, but we do nothing about them, because we end up saying that we are urging the respective ministries and departments to take action. And urging has proved to be nothing. Honorable Speaker, I want to propose that this input be put in this particular bill, that whereas most of the monies has been allocated for development projects, we create a bigger percentage, of course, while accepting that we need to increase the percentage of that CDF from 2% to 5%. But we create a bigger percent where we can use recurrent expenditure. Honorable members, if we opened a bigger percent for recurrent expenditure, we can allocate ourselves some functions, and I'll speak about two only, which are in their need in our constituencies. One such area are the village elders. Suppose in the 5% we are receiving, we actually clause there that each constituency be able to put down and pen down a certain agreed upon ratio of amount that will be paid to the village elder. We shall have completely and for once solved the question of village elders earning no stipend completely as they work. So I'm getting a solution, Honorable Speaker, to the issues or the question of the village elder working and not getting any pay. Another area I would want inputted in this would then be the area of feeding program to our students. Currently, as we know, most of our learners are in school, and there's hunger in the whole country, and people are suffering. There's drought and so on and so forth. So again, within the CDF, as we add this money from 2% to 5%, we could create an area to allow us to actually spend this money on recurrent, so that we are actually having a portion for every constituency, which specifically goes to the issue of feeding program of the students in the schools. We shall have helped this country by making sure that all students who are going to school will be having lunch in their schools and therefore equalize the issue of feeding and the issue of education to all the learners. Honorable Speaker, the CDF's role in our development cannot be stumbled upon, and we are asking those who are in charge of this particular motion to actually go wide and talk to all the authorities. Currently, we are having a challenge with the Senate. The Senate is saying that they were not consulted. But I think a good idea doesn't need to be opposed by the Senate for the sake of it. They are simply opposing this idea because they are saying we did not consult them. But if this idea is good, I'm asking the senators of this country that you cannot block a good idea simply because of a consultation. We are here and available. Honorable Speaker, you are also available. Let the Senate consult you. Let the proponents of this bill equally consult the Senate leadership so that when we go to the field, when we do break, we don't have counter voices that when we are speaking about CDF being entrenched in the Constitution, the senators are saying otherwise, that they need to be consulted before this is done. We also support, I particularly support the fund created for the senators and equally for the NGAF. But finally, Honorable Speaker, there's that special fund for those who are living with disabilities. Honorable Speaker, as I speak here today, it's unfortunate that the National Council of People Living with Disabilities have decided to change the cards from the old ones to the new ones. Unfortunately, as the people living with disabilities, including the students who are in the special schools, are being asked, Honorable Speaker, to pay between 600 and 1,000 shillings for them to get the new cards. I think this is not something good, because already these students in special schools and people living with disability have no money. They are having a disability, and you want to surcharge them 600 to 1,000 shillings for them to get a card. So my proposal for this particular law is that that fund for PWDs and people living with special needs be enhanced, and specifically the enhancement go to students who are in special schools so that they are actually accommodated, they are actually given all the foods when they are in the special schools, and all their total care for education is taken care of. That should be ring-fenced so that those students can actually also learn just the same way other students are learning. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, let me say, CDF has been very great. In the Muhaya constituency, we have been able to do so much that I can't mention. And currently, apart from having a TTC that we created using the CDF, which the government has now adopted, everything else has been done by CDF in the absence of county governments. And I want to look forward that this bill will go through to support the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, over the weekend I was attending one of the most precious meetings we do attend, and unfortunately everyone is crying about school fees. This law should go through very quickly so that the people of Emuhaya, the people of Kenya, and the parents of this country can get school fees for their children. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to